Okay, guys. Listen, I'll start show. For those that just weren't here, and apologies again if I'm repeating myself, please no filming. Alright, we do catch it, we would ask you to stop, and then obviously, that's what we needed. You guys have been here, you're selected to be here tonight, you get more from Robbie and a bit about his career. So the way the first half will work, Peter's going to talk to you about current situations, go through Robbie's career. Half time you'll hear more from me at the interval with the auction items, and then in the second half you'll get your opportunity for your questions. So if you've seen on the link before, eventwithlegend.com, ask a question, keep it sensible, throw the odd little curveball in, and Peter will decipher some of the best ones. But for now, guys, I'm going to hand you over to our host this evening. Please give a huge round of applause for Peter McDowell.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter McDowell. For those of us that haven't met yet, I work for LFC TV, which is the channel you all watch illegally in Aberdeen. It's brilliant to be here. We've been on a really good run of a couple of days. We were in the Isle of Man last night. Obviously we're in Aberdeen tonight, but we play in some really rough places. We did Grimsby and Carlisle 2 nights running last month. For those of you that haven't been to a place like Grimsby, that's where they send you when you fail your exams. And that's where you have to stay. They had a quiz night on before we came on at 6 o'clock. And the first question of the night was, what the fuck are you looking at? We knew we were in for a rough night, so it's really nice to be in a place such as this tonight as well. As John mentioned there, second part of the night will be about you, asking questions of Robbie Fowler. Please don't keep it sensible, because that would make the night very drab. I will ask enough dull questions tonight, so if there's anything you need to ask Robbie, whether it's marriage guidance or who he thinks will win the Premier League this year, then just send it to that address there, and we'll get through the best of them before the end of the night. Let's give you a reminder as to why he was so special, because what we try and do in the course of all of these tours that we do is bring you Liverpool heroes of different eras. And as you probably know, with working with Liverpool TV, I get to work with the first team, but these are real treats being around the ex-players, because you can have a drink with them, you can tell stories about the past. And still one of the highlights of my career was, and it came up on a reminder last week, 4 years ago we spent a week in South Africa with 15 ex-Liverpool players, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, when I'd had enough to drink, I walked through the bar and there were 3 people left. One of them was Robbie Fowler, the other one was Steve McManaman, and the other one was Ian Callaghan, and they were drinking Jaeger bombs. 2 lads from, well, three lads from Toxteth, wasn't it, with all 3 of them. Ian Callaghan at the age of 72, knee-deep in Jaeger bombs with them 2. Honestly, you couldn't tell the stories. Maybe get to that a little bit later. That's the address anyway, if you'd like to ask Robbie a question later on. For some of the youngsters in the room, and some that were maybe drunk all the way through the noughties, here's a reminder as to why he was so special. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Robbie Fowler. Good evening. Just before we start, John did mention it, please no filming any of Robbie's answers tonight, because some of them get a bit close to the knuckle. As you can imagine, with the role that he holds as club ambassador, it could end pretty messily if any of this stuff ends up on YouTube. So fine to take pictures, but please no videos of Robbie tonight.
Good move, good move.
You like that?
And what I will say, I know there's a few kids in here, and I do swear quite a lot, so I do apologise, but I mean, what time's it now? It's 8 o'clock, so fuck them, you know.
Should be in bed anyway. This is your first trip to Aberdeen. Somebody who travels the world with Liverpool. There are very few corners of the globe you've not been to. Aberdeen, though, is one of those places. This is where all Scousers come on the run in Aberdeen, in case you hadn't noticed.
To be fair, I know there's a few Scousers here. I think we get everywhere, don't we, to be honest? So, yeah, it is my first time in Aberdeen. I've been to Scotland many times. Obviously, I have a lot of friends in Glasgow and just outside Glasgow. Was my first time in Aberdeen, so I didn't really know what to expect. But I can understand mostly, as you're probably saying, I can understand you, which doesn't.
We're here just before Christmas. I mean, you proper get the extreme weather here. There's people out sunbathing in the car park today. This is how warm it's been, but it's a pleasure to be here. Let's talk a little bit about the current picture, because I think we're revelling in being Liverpool fans, and we hear Jurgen Klopp say on quite a few occasions, let's enjoy the process we're in at the moment. Are you, as a Liverpool fan, enjoying the process of this title race at the moment?
Not really, no, because I'd like to be a lot more comfortable. I mean, obviously I've never won the Premier League, but I think you get to a certain point where there's a lot of, certainly as players, there's a lot of pressure. As supporters, said you go to Anfield and now and you can feel the intensity. But look, I'm quietly confident we'll do well. Actually, I'm buoyed by this season. I think Jurgen's a fantastic manager. I think we're playing, good football without being brilliant, and we're getting, unbelievable results. I know the form of late in terms of getting wins has not been brilliant, but you look at the old big picture, and we've lost once all season Premier League. I think coming up to what are we now, February, and it's to lose one game from the start of the season till now I think it's astonishing. It really is.
You said you'd never won the Premier League, but you were involved in that treble season, which we'll move on to later on. But talk to us about the pressure, because we as fans, I don't think we cope with the pressure of a title race too well, but that's why we're not footballers and you were. What is it like when you're involved in that day to day? Are you feeling the pressure?
Well, you wasn't a footballer because you couldn't handle the pressure, you were just shit, you know what I mean? I think with football, yes, I think you do feel the pressure, but the cliched answer is you've got to take each game as it comes. Now, I'm all about momentum. I wasn't overly impressed with Liverpool, the way they got knocked out of the FA Cup and the League Cup. For me, I think you should be in every competition, because I think it builds momentum. You go back to 2001, what you've said, and we obviously won all the cups. We qualified for the Champions League. You don't celebrate and finishing fourth, but celebrate and winning all the cups. And I think that was because of the momentum that we had, that we won all those games. And I think that's probably what we lack at the minute. So the more games you play, the more you win. I think the squad gains a lot more confidence. I think the break that we had, maybe getting knocked out of the FA Cup, we played Leicester, we played West Ham, and you could see the rustiness in the team, and I think that really didn't help us. So thankfully we've had a win now, and obviously massive game on Sunday, and I can see us winning the game. And if I know you want to talk, people, they'll come to see me, not you. So.
2-0 up already.
I don't even know what I was going to say then.
I was just going to ask you, because the pictures are on the board there, as to what you made of this result the other night. We all go into the game now expecting us to blow everybody away. 0-0 draw at Anfield, was it a good result?
I think it is. Obviously it's, again, you want to win every game, you want to win it really comfortable. But to get a 0-0 draw against, for me, Bayern Munich, as much as they haven't been brilliant this year in the German league, I thought they were very good at Anfield for large spells of the game. We were probably the better team still. We had more chances than them. And look, if you're not going to win the game, 0-0 is probably the perfect score. We'll go over there, and I've no doubt with the players that we've got, I think we'll score goals. I really do. So I think we'll go through, actually.
Obviously they're in a scenario, aren't they? We go and score there, which you would generally back Liverpool to do. They've got to score twice. So would you back us if you had to put a pound on it to go through in that leg?
No, I'm confident. I really am. I think with obviously Mane missed obviously a few chances. Mata missed a few. Nearly scored one for them as well. But yeah, I am. I think we're such a good team, and I think with obviously 0-0, Bayern know that. They'll have to obviously alter their game plan. They'll need to come out a little bit more, and obviously with the attackers that we've got, I think it leaves them a little bit vulnerable as well. So it'll be an interesting game, but I think we'll get the right result.
Where success stories go, this fella must feature, wouldn't it? We're quite quick as football fans to judge players, aren't we? And some of the things you heard said about Fabinho at one stage, goes and plays centre half against one of Europe's best strikers, does as well as he as he does. He's settled into life quite well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. I mean, when he first came, I was worried, to be fair, because he looked fucking shit, didn't he? But thankfully, his performances have really improved. And I mean, playing alongside Matip, he looks unbelievable, doesn't he? Yeah, I think he's been an absolute star. I know he's obviously not a centre half. He does play, or he has played full back. But I think when he has played in midfield, he's looked a player. You know, he looks as though he's got the grip of the English game now. You know, it's obviously a little bit quicker than what he was used to. But you know, he looks a real good player.
I'm just looking at these ladies on the front row. My hair's curling already here. I remember when John Barnes was on in Dublin, and there was actually a lady there who left halfway through because his language is that bad. So apologies in advance. You're not offended easily, are you? Because you wouldn't have come back from when Cara was here last time.
I don't. Does Cara swear? Does he?
Yes.
Does he? I mean, I'm gonna get a little bit worse as well, by the way. So.
Pair of guidance. Any men in the room not had any sexual feelings about this guy this year? It'd be quite easy to say to the girls, but you know that would be an obvious question. But he's holding up the Player of the Year or Player of the Month award there. Is he the Premier League Player of the Year for you if you had to vote?
He probably is. I mean, I don't like, because I'm obviously a forward, I want to give it to obviously goal scorers and people who score all the goals, but I mean, he stops most of them, doesn't he? I mean, I'd have probably hated to play against him because he is one of the players. I think he's got everything in the locker as a defender. You know, he's big, you know, he's strong, you know, he's quick. I think he reads the game very well, he's good in the air, so I think I'd have struggled, to be fair, against him for 5 minutes.
Would have been an interesting contest. You do wonder about Man City as well.
I think he'd beat me in the air, wouldn't he?
I think he probably would. I think he beat you in the Conti as well for the next female that came along.
Probably would, actually.
You do wonder when you watch Man City's documentary and you see that scene about them debating over whether they should go for Virgil van Dijk. I mean, if money was no object, he's just a ready-made title winner, isn't he? If Liverpool would have signed him 2 or 3 seasons ago, what would have happened?
I mean, I don't want to obviously tempt fate, but I mean, he's obviously won the league up in Scotland with Celtic, and I think going to Southampton and getting the gist of what the Premier League's like has probably done him a few favours as well. I don't think Liverpool were ever going to sign him from Celtic, but when you see him in the Premier League, he has looked an unbelievable player, and I think he could have had to pick of clubs. And you know, thankfully he's wearing the red of Liverpool now.
Let's continue to talk about nerves, because I think we are all slightly nervous about what might happen on Sunday. You played in enough of them and had some good times against them as well. What's your feeling about these games as both a player who played in them and what's to come this weekend?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm a supporter now, and I'm not as nervous as what you think I should be, to be honest, because I'm quietly confident we'll go there and we'll get the result. I think as a player, you always looked, you know, when the fixtures came out at the start of the season, it was, you know, who you're playing on your birthday because you wanted to make sure you're home so you could go out afterwards. Christmas you wanted to see who you're playing, and obviously the Everton games and the Man United games were always the first fixtures that you look for. Massive games, and I think they've probably become bigger now with social media. I think years ago where the games got built up by the press, and obviously you're seeing the fans whenever you walk in the street and did mention it, but obviously with you know, Twitter and you know, Facebook and you know, Instagram, everyone is geared up towards a game for weeks and weeks before, and so it's probably more intense now than what it has ever been.
I asked you in there before, what's your feeling about Sunday? Do you think Liverpool are going to win?
I know Man United have had a little bit of an upturn in form. I mean, you could argue they really haven't played anyone. I know they beat Chelsea. Chelsea may be struggling, but I think what they've got now is they've got a little bit of confidence and that momentum, what I said before, but I just think we'll be too good for them. I think we're better in all areas, so it'll be an interesting game, and I think it'll be a tight game, but I think we'll win.
And I know the pressure at the top is that we have to win every game now, but a win against Man United at Old Trafford, what could that do for this title race?
It's massive, it really is, and I think it'll galvanise the team and, you know, obviously go on to bigger and better things. How serious are we, by the way? I thought we were going to have a bit of a laugh, to be fair.
We are going to have a laugh. We're just warming them up. You never know who you're going to bump into in Aberdeen. This was earlier on this afternoon. This is a genuine picture of Robbie Fowler outside the toilet with Sir Alex Ferguson. Talk us through it. What happened here?
Well, I'm not sure what we were doing outside the toilet, to be honest, but That was funny. Well, I mean, it is an actual genuine picture.
It's a women's toilet.
Yeah,
Well,
that's the story. He's
now,
going to get to that now.
Now I know why we're outside the fucking toilets. I mean, it is actually a genuine picture. So when we got off the flight up here this afternoon, I think Sir Alex was obviously going back. He must have had some function here last night, I think so. In all fairness, we will give him a little bit of stick because of who he's the manager of, and I know he's an absolute legend in terms of football, but I think what I will say is, I mean, he's an incredible manager, an incredible man, as much as we dislike him because he was manager of Man United, but to be fair to him, he's a good man, and it's good to see him well again, to be fair.
Yeah, he was looking really well today. When Carroll was here, he said he wrote to him after he'd retired. The funny thing was, there was 4 Scousers stood there in jeans and trainers, and when he saw us, he couldn't get away quick enough, and then you shouted him. He half went to fuck you off as well, and then realised it was Robbie Fowler and came back for a chat. That would have been soul destroying if he'd have got rid of you as well.
Thankfully, never, Peter.
No, it was a nice little moment, that, actually. He wouldn't get a picture with all of us, though. This is you in the tunnel as a former Liverpool player. Of course, you're going to do it all again against AC Milan. Steven Gerrard, the newest signing as well. What are the nerves like compared to when you were a player, when you lead the team out as a retired footballer?
Well, obviously, I am the most unnervous man ever, so I think when it came to sort of football, I never sort of focused or worried about, who we were playing, in terms of opposition, in terms of players, and I was obviously always focused on myself. But now, when you retire, I think I'm more nervous than ever because obviously I'm not in the shape I was when I was playing. So it's more so the embarrassment factor. I want to go out there and I don't want to embarrass my kids. We seen a game last year where John Aldridge fell over, and we give him stick all the time because he fell over. So I mean, God knows what would happen if I ever done that. I mean, I don't think I'd want to wake up, to be honest. So I'm probably more nervous now about obviously getting the chance to put the shirt on and going out and playing at Anfield, only because I don't want to embarrass myself.
Aldo, that was used to be Aldo's last ever appearance in a football match, but he couldn't go out that way, could he?
No, he did retire again because I phoned him up and I said, listen, Aldo, you can't finish on that, so you've got to go out on a high, and thankfully he put his boots on again, and it wasn't as bad in the next game, so I think he might retire now though.
I don't think his grandkids have talked to him since, but that's going to be a good occasion against AC Milan as they do that game all over again. This is a picture of a guy that you've known probably for 30 years engaging in your other big hobby now, which is golf, and you take that very seriously as well. You go way back though. He's known you since you were a teenager going through the School of Excellence at Liverpool.
Yes, I mean, for those who don't know me, I was from a place called Toxteth in Liverpool. Anyone know it? Yeah. Bit of a shithole, to be honest, but I'm obviously proud of my roots, and we didn't have much, as a kid. We never had a car, nothing. In fact, if I didn't wake up with an hard on Christmas morning, I had none to play with. Is that a little bit too much, is it?
She was made up with that at the front.
So yeah, I mean, it was a little bit rough, and I think Toxteth is probably more remembered for the riots in 1980, 81. I don't really remember that much about the riots because I was 6 years old, other than the fact is I woke up one morning and we had this big fuck off telly. I'm actually serious as well, by the way. How I was spotted. I was spotted in obviously the school playground. The teacher put me through for trials for Liverpool schoolboys. And when you play for Liverpool schoolboys, there's all the scouts from the Northwest teams who were there. And for my sins, I grew up an Everton fan. But the first scout who come up to me was a fella called Jim Aspinall, who's obviously the Liverpool scout. And he wanted me to ply my trade at Liverpool. I mean, he was around my house all the time. I mean, even when my dad wasn't in. The more I think, it was actually my mum that made me sign for Liverpool. So obviously I signed for Liverpool from when I was 10 years old and became a supporter then. And I mean, just to tell you obviously a little bit about Kenny and the measure of Liverpool as a club and Kenny as a person was brilliant because I said before, we didn't have a car, so I used to get 2 buses up to Melwood, which is a training ground, after school and do my training. And I remember one particular winter's night, it was freezing cold, it was raining, a real horrible winter's night. So I've got my uniform on, goes up to training, does my training, still wet, still cold. I finish the training, gets my uniform back on, and I'm waiting at the bus stop. It's Kenny turns up in a big white Mercedes. Now this Mercedes was bigger than my house, you know. So Kenny puts the window down and he says, "Come on, son," he says, "I'll take you home." Now, bear in mind I'm from Toxteth and Kenny lives in a big fuck off mansion in Formby. I'm thinking a little bit embarrassed now, but in the end, because it was cold and wet, I get in the car and Kenny said, "Where do we live?" So I ended up getting dropped off about a mile away from my house. I honestly didn't want him to see where I lived, because I think if he'd have stopped anywhere near mine anyway, his fucking wheels would have went missing. So anyway, I got home pretty early, and my mum said to me, "So, well, what are you doing home so early?" Jim had fucked off around the back at the time. And I said to my mum, I said, I've just had a lift off Kenny, and she actually gave me a clip around the ear for taking a lift off a stranger. So then I obviously explained who Kenny was, and she was obviously made up. But you can imagine me, a young kid, and I couldn't wait to get to school the next day and tell everyone that the King had dropped me off. So I was probably the first time in my life I was the first kid in the school playground wanting to tell everyone, told everyone, and from then on I was known as Robbie the Liar. And I kept telling people all the time, and the more I thought about it, I kept thinking it was pretty strange, and I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck was Kenny Dalglish doing picking up young boys at bus stops? Thankfully he was safe, I was alright.
Should we learn a little bit more about Toxteth, because you gave a really articulate description about it there, but of course Robbie Fowler was bursting onto the scene at Liverpool. It wasn't long until the TV cameras asked you to give them a guided tour. Here's a sample of it.
I grew up here. I just love it. There's nothing wrong with it, so...
You're obviously proud of your roots, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. As I said before, Toxteth's got a bad name, but because I grew up here, I can see nothing wrong with it. It's one of my houses here, that grey thing, that big white pipe went there when I was living in, a big white pipe. The next door neighbour as well, I think I was chasing after that little lad there, and he was being dead cheeky to me, and I've run after him with the ball, and I volleyed the ball right at him, and
left or right foot?
Left, and he sort of ducked in that, and he ducked, and it went right through the window. Also, the window shattered. that window there, and the ball ended up in the. I think it ended up in the washing machine. I just sort of jumped over the fence and sort of in our bin shed and
Hasn't changed a bit.
Yeah, it's not very bad. To be fair, I've got better looking. I know that. Definitely.
Like a fine wine. What was it like then? Because you're talking about, being around a title-winning team, probably 1991, being around some really influential young players, learning all the good and bad from them. What was that time like as a young footballer in Liverpool?
I loved it. I mean, you've just mentioned some of the players who I got into the side with. It was incredible. I think legend is probably used too much in football now. But I broke into the Liverpool team with proper legends, the likes of Ronnie Whelan, the likes of Steve Nicol, Ian Rush, John Barnes, Jan Mulvey. And for a young kid to be playing and training on the same pitch as these, it's absolutely amazing. But I knew it was obviously hard work, but thankfully I was quite talented where I got to stay and enjoy certainly the fruits of being a footballer because of all these great players I was playing with.
He was on 29 quid a week, and then life changed forever. Again, a reminder of his 5 goals in his first full appearance for Liverpool and Anfield.
I think before this game, I just signed a new contract actually, and one of the you seen in that video I was driving around in I think it was like a Ford Tirana, so it was a bit of but one of my first contracts was I actually got a car in my contract, and the car was an hand-me-down from Bruce Grobbelaar. I checked the glove compartment, and there was certainly no brown envelopes in that.
Here's the big appearance at Anfield.
Jones now. 35 yards out, tries a shot, stopped by Stannard and put in by Robbie Fowler. What are they going to do here? 9-man wall. Rowan squares it, Fowler finishes it. Great finish, great set piece. 2-0. 27 holds it up, waits for a little bit of support. Has it now in. Rob Jones, great run from Jones. 100 yards is made. Fowler finishes that one off as well. A hat-trick for the youngster. Every Liverpool pass now. Dix across and a diving header. Well, he's scored with much in every part of his body, Robbie Fowler. That's his 4th goal of the game. Could this be 5 for Fowler? Yes, it is. What a remarkable feat from the 18-year-old.
Brilliant, that, isn't it? Imagine that. What was it like when you walked back into the dressing room again? You've secured a match ball, people queuing up. Well, in those days you didn't swap shirts, did you? But queuing up to congratulate you, I imagine.
Yeah, I think that was obviously my first game as a professional at Anfield. So I mean, for a young kid to do that in the first game, I think was absolutely amazing. I made my debut obviously a week before in the first leg. I'd scored and we won 3-1. You know, kept me place for the following Saturday. We'd lost to Chelsea 1-0. Again, I played okay. But this game is obviously one of my most famous games, if you like, for Liverpool. I think scoring 5 goals, you know, on your first start at Anfield, I don't think anything gets better than that. But what I remember most about the game is, you know, I'd scored, you know, the hat-trick. You know, I'd scored the 4th, I'd scored the 5th, and Ian Rush came up to me and he said, "You do know that only 5 players in the history of Liverpool have scored 5 goals?" And I went, well, I didn't, but I do now, thanks. And Rushy went, well, I'm one of them. And I went, well, I'm fucking better because I'm newer. He went, it doesn't work like that. So anyway, the game's carried on. I missed obviously a few more chances, and you know, the referee blows the whistle, and my head's massive. You know, I'm the best player there's ever been. You know, I'm walking off the pitch. You know, my head's scraping the walls as I'm going up the tunnel. You know, goes and sits in the dressing room. And honestly, I'm waiting there. I'm sitting down. I'm waiting for, you know, the coaches, the players, the manager to tell me I'm the best player they've ever seen. And Ronnie Moran just turned round and he went, "You should have had 6, you spotty little bastard." I was actually never ever bigger than playing for Liverpool. You wasn't allowed to.
Big night out afterwards?
No, quiet. I hadn't found alcohol by that time. And I actually went home and I got a Chinese meal, special fried rice for a special occasion.
Share it or?
Oh no, I fucking ate it all, obviously. Look, come on. You don't get a body like this, share it, do you?
I just wonder about that time as well. I mean, 92, 93, you talked about the year of Graham Souness coming in, and he's not a manager certainly we look back with any great fondness on, because it was a tough period. He was trying to get older players out, younger players through. Do you have mixed feelings about it though, that period as a player?
Did I have mixed feelings? No, I mean I loved Graham. I thought he was brilliant. Obviously, any manager who gets given a chance any player who gets given a chance by that manager, you know, will have so much time for him. I think what Graham sort of did afterwards, I mean, that leaves obviously a sour taste in lots of Liverpool fans. But when he came to Liverpool, he maybe tried to change things a little bit too quick. So what Graham tried to implement was what everyone's doing right now with the sports science, the players looking after themselves, eating the right foods, drinking the right drinks, all the supplements. And one of the things he brought in was he wanted all the players to get weighed on a Monday morning so that he knew that you were looking after yourself over the weekend. So you can imagine a treatment room with all the players queuing up to get weighed Monday morning, all the skinny lads like myself and Macca were at the front, and all the fat bastards like Razor and Yam were at the back. So I get on the scales and I'm 9 stone, Stevie Mack gets on the scales and he's 7 stone. And just as Macca's got off, Roy Evans was the coach at the time, and he's walked in and he turns around to Neil Ruddock and he says, "This is what you're weighing, Razor." So Razor goes, "I'm 12.5 stone, Roy." He went, "All right then, yeah." And just as soon as he said that, Mark Leder, the physio, he said, "Razor, come and dive on the scales." So he walks across the room, gets on the scales. Mark Leder's jaw hit the floor. He went, "Fuck me, Razor." He said, "You're 16.5 stone." So he turned round to me and he said, Roy Evans turned round to me and goes, "Fuck me, Razor." He said, "What have you ate from there to there?" The conversation went on. The conversation went on a little bit more, and Roy Evans went, "Raise, this is fucking not good enough. You're playing for the greatest club in the world." He said, "What's the lightest you've been?" And Ray's went, "You might struggle to believe this, Roy." He said, "But I won £7 3 ounces."
Ronnie Moran used to write all the players' weights down, didn't he? The start of the season and the end. And when we were doing the documentary about him, his son gave us all the books. And there was a time towards the end of Jan Molby's career where he was 16 stone 9, playing at the top level. And Gary Gillespie coined that famous phrase: he was a Twix of 17 stone. Incredible.
Jan was, I think we got to the cup final in '95. And obviously we were getting all measured for suits. This was obviously before the cream suits. We had '95, we had black suits, normal suits. So we're all in there getting measured. And I think at the time I was maybe about 28, 30 waist. And whoever the tailor came in, and obviously he just looks at Jan. He says, "Oh, Jan, you're a marquee. So you're a Mark F." So Jan's obviously Danish, and didn't really understand the lingo. So Jan Molby goes up to John Barnes. He said, "What's this Mark F?" So John Barnes says, "Well, it's one up from a marquee." Jan, he's getting his suit measured. His fucking suit was massive.
Let's talk records as well. This is one that went for 21 years.
Well, there's Keown's error, fully punished. You get a bit of luck here, Liverpool. The cross is Fowler, and on that left foot, was there any other end of product going to come out of that with the neck bulging? He doesn't often miss there, he just lifted it enough. Fowler, making a yard for himself. Oh, is it going in? It is! So, in 2 minutes from Robbie Fowler, they're going crazy here at Anfield. Well, it didn't look a problem to me here. Arsenal look at the main proper. 4 shots and 3 against 2 in the edge of 18-yard ball. I thought he passed on the opportunity, but he didn't hit it first time. He's away again. Is this going to be the hat-trick? It could still be. It is! That is incredible. What a cool head. Poor David Seaman. He must have thought he'd stopped the hat-trick. Great work from Fowler. I tell you, he's just tucked in behind an international defender in Tony Adams. Seaman thinks he's done everything right, but how is this for a cool head? Unbelievable stuff from Liverpool. Unbelievable stuff from Robbie Fowler.
What about a round of applause for that, ladies and gents? A hat-trick against Arsenal in 4 minutes and 33 seconds. It was a record that existed for an incredible 21 years. Well, what's it like looking back at that? Finishes of all kinds of different varieties.
It's obviously very good, isn't it? I mean, you've just mentioned the record stood for 21 years, and I think it's obviously been broken by Sadio Mane. I still think mine was better. Well, I mean, mine was against an Arsenal team that had 5 England internationals in Seaman, Adams, Bold, Winterburn, Dixon, England international, established. A good Arsenal team, but Mane's was against a shit Aston Villa team, wasn't it? Mine was well better.
Either we say about strikers that you are selfish animals. Is there part of it when he breaks that record where you just think, fucking bastard? Or are you pleased for it?
I was fucking devastated. I mean, the fact is now he's gone to Liverpool, I'm actually alright with it, but I mean, he was playing for fucking Southampton at the time, so come on, you don't fucking records to be broken by someone who plays for Southampton here.
Slightly begrudging. Another big moment in Robbie's career, again, as we look back, is that incident against Arsenal, and David Seaman, a little reminder as to how this one went.
And Robbie Fowler here, he's wearing the keeper Seaman and goes down, penalty given it. Well, what Fowler is... I thought Fowler was protesting on Seaman's behalf, and I think he is.
from David Seaman, his England colleague, and you can see a hand on the face in the crowd there that just said, oh no, because this could be double disaster for Arsenal. Ian Wright furious, being told to go away by Gerald Ashby.
What is your feeling when you look back at that all of these years later? Because it was quite extraordinary, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, the first thing that went through my mind, obviously, when I fell over, was David Seaman, 6'4", and he was fucking fuming, so I shit myself. So yeah, was it a penalty? It probably was, but he was fucking massive, wasn't he? I think nowadays, if that happens, it was a penalty. I think, you know, if you're sort of running and just try and jump out of the way and evade the challenge. Look, I think, I've stopped myself from getting hurt, or I've stopped him from getting hurt. I think it's a penalty now. It probably wasn't back then. I mean, I didn't dive, I was just obviously momentum taking me over, and I think a few good things came out of it. Obviously, I got a UEFA Fair Play certificate, which is obviously not worth fuck all. And Jason McAteer got his first goal because I missed a penalty for Liverpool, so I mean, he got a fucking shampoo advert out of that as well.
You probably done him a right favour with that apology, because he might have got sent off for that, mightn't he, at the time? Might have gone down as a professional
I never thought about that, to be honest, yeah. And to be fair, I mean, it probably wasn't a penalty at the time, but because it was, I mean, the commentator alluded to it there. He said it was obviously an England colleague, so, you know, obviously playing international football with him, well, only a few times. That was, I mean, he was a good mate of mine within that setup.
Just the way you say, soz Dave. Soz Dave. Another famous image from your time as a Liverpool player. On a serious note though, Robert, of all the pictures that I've seen you be given across the years, when the odd occasion comes up where somebody hands you this picture to sign, you won't sign it. What's the reason for that?
Well, there's a few things actually. I think one, obviously, because I still work for Liverpool, and obviously it's frowned upon by the club, you don't like it, and I think for me to sort of be signing it is maybe deemed disrespectful to the club, so they don't like that. And also the fact is, you know, obviously being a footballer, there's going to be a time when I'm skint, so I'll just save them for when I've got no money and I'll start selling
I mean, it caused such a stir, didn't it? And we were looking through the archives, and it wasn't just front page news, it actually made news programmes and News at 10. Take a look at this.
The Liverpool striker Robbie Fowler has apologised for his controversial goal celebrations in the Merseyside derby. He said the stress of false drug allegations had got to him.
There was little doubting what Fowler was doing in his misguided goal celebrations yesterday, and from the wording of his unequivocal apology, there's little doubt Liverpool have taken a dim view of his antics. In his statement issued by the club, Fowler says sorry to fans, his teammates and his manager.
Despite my actions being taken in the heat of the moment immediately following the penalty, I realise that they have caused great offence, and I deeply regret that.
That wasn't Robbie, by the way.
Imagine doing something like that on Sky now with someone with whatever accent you're from. It'd be fucking murder, wasn't it?
You just have visions of them going around the newsroom saying, can anyone do a really shit Scouse accent? Help us out with this package. Obviously, along the way as well, you might remember that Gerard Houllier did him a right favour, or tried to. Have a listen to this.
Then you go as this kind of ceremonial, you know, sometimes they do a thing, they dance near the corner flag and they do things. But in France, on that, the Rigobert songs were very known, you know, to eat the grass and sleep the grass and all that.
So, in case you couldn't understand, he's saying that Rigobert's song, it was almost a tribute to him that used to pretend to eat the grass. Maroon's national team.
And look, I think it's obviously fairly well documented. I didn't really see eye to eye with Gerard, you know, plenty of times. Not because I hated him. I mean, in fact, I did when I didn't fucking play. But I mean, when you're a manager and you stick up for players, because obviously he didn't want me to get into any trouble. And I mean, every man and his dog and everyone in the stadium and everyone elsewhere knew what I was doing. But him coming out saying it was a Rigobert song, eating grass celebration, I actually felt sorry for him. Because he looks like a fucking dickhead.
Just the way his eyes are shooting side to side, you can just tell he's telling lies. Well, was that a difficult period? Because even now when you're together with Roy Evans, that era of players still call him Gaffer. You know, you've still got that respect. So when he comes in, they're joint managers. Was that confusing, quite difficult?
Yeah, I mean, it was difficult. If you imagine as as a team and a bunch of lads, when you have joint managers, you didn't really know who to go and see whenever you wasn't playing or whenever there was any problems. And it was strange for players. And what made it strange was, I mean, every year we used to go and play, a Norwegian 11 over in Oslo, and we, I mean, the game was normally all right, but it was all about fitness, and no one was really bothered about the game. But there was a nightclub in Oslo called Smoogies that, whenever the game was finished, we were in suits and boots, and we were straight into this fucking nightclub. So whenever this game's finished, we won 3-1. Roy Evans is away doing the press, so we're on the coach, and we're all fucking ready to go out. So Gerrard gets on the bus and he says, "Listen, lads," he said, "obviously, I'm the manager of the club now." He said, "No Smoogies tonight. Straight home to the hotel. Have some food, and then we go to bed, and we'll leave the hotel in the morning. Back to Liverpool." So we're thinking, well, we'll need to fucking sneak out here, So anyway, the bus gets, Roy Evans gets on the bus goes back to the hotel, it parks up, Roy Evans shoots off, Gerrard gets on the mic, he said, "Listen," he said, "I'm genuinely serious. If any of you go out tonight," he said, you will be getting the biggest fine you'll ever had in your lives." So we're thinking, well, we'll have to fucking really sneak out here. So anyway, he gets, Gerrard gets off the bus and we all get into the hotel, goes in the lift, all gets up into our rooms, arranged to meet 5 minutes later downstairs, a reception, back door, and just as there's about 15 players, we could get in the lift, goes down, just about to walk out the back way, and Gerard Houlay's there, and he said, "Listen," he said, "I'm genuinely serious." He said, "If you leave this hotel now, all 15, not only will you get the biggest fine," he said, "I will make sure you never play for this football club ever again." So we're all fucking gutted now. Next minute there's a ping, and the lift doors opened, and Roy Evans came out and he went, "Let's hit the fucking town, lads." We're with him.
Club captain and the other joint manager take the lads out. It's a great story, that. Another famous picture to show you is this one. It's a grimace, isn't it? It's a grimace right across the room. Bad decision?
In hindsight, yes, but I mean, I don't think obviously the white suits had any bearing on the result. I mean, I don't know if anyone remembers the '96 Cup final, but I couldn't tell you if it was a good game, a bad game. It's one that I want to raise from my mind anyway, because we lost, and it was not because of the white suits. I think what sort of disappoints me more than anything was people bring it up all the time and make it out that we lost the game because of the white suits. We never. But I suppose it doesn't fit agendas if we just lost the game because it was just a poor game. But I don't. The suits never really had anything to do with it.
Still got it?
I have actually, yeah. Well, it's in the actual football museum in Manchester. Before I took it to before the museum asked to borrow it, I actually tried it on and it still fitted me. So it must have been fucking massive back then. But what I remember about it. I mean, it's probably the same with people. When I was a kid, the first competition I ever wanted to win was the FA Cup. I loved the FA Cup. So I remember being a kid, waking up FA Cup final morning, watching the players eat breakfast. You'd get the cameras following them everywhere. They'd be on the bus. You'd go down Wembley Way. They'd be in a dressing room. You walk up the tunnel. You'd get on the pitch. I couldn't wait to do that. So obviously, put the white suits on in the morning. We're having our breakfast. Cameras are there. We go down Wembley Way. We goes in the dressing room, puts our washing bags in there, and when you're in the dressing room, the manager will say, "Well, listen, go and have a save the atmosphere. Go and see what footwear you want to wear, whether you want to wear studs or rubbers, and give us 5-10 minutes. Come back in, and the kit will be out." So we all walked out, and what happened when you walk out at Wembley? The fans normally see you, and you let out this big crescendo of noise that we're here to support you, and we're going to do everything we can to sort of help you win that cup. So we walked out. And it was just deathly silence. We walked into the middle pitch and no one fucking said a word at Wembley. And I think to this day, the crowd thought we were the band.
Never thought of it that way, yeah, the best band come out. Just before we finish the first part, Rob, let's talk about the treble season, because most of the people in the room were here when Jamie Carragher come. We celebrate this great occasion in 2005. But when you look at 5 trophies in a calendar year over 64 games, some of the stats here. 127 goals you scored that season. It's probably not talked about maybe in Liverpool's history as much as it should be.
Yeah, probably because obviously 2005 was, you know, an incredible achievement, and you know, you think of that team, and as much as we won it, I mean, I look at the team and I look at the, you know, us winning the Champions League, and I still really don't know how we did it. You know, the team we had compared to AC Milan was probably not the best, but I think we had that more, you know, that will, desire. But certainly the squad of players we had in 2001, I mean, it's probably the best bunch of players, or the bunch of squads that, you know, I've been in and around. I think we had world-class players in every position. We really did, and you know, that was testament to what we achieved. I mean, it was mega proud, certainly as a footballer. You want to win. I wanted to be remembered for winning trophies, not about finishing fourth. I know we finished fourth in the Premier League that year to qualify for the Champions League, and that just capped off an unbelievable season for, you know, winning the Worthington Cup as it was, the FA Cup and the UEFA Cup. I mean, that was incredible, and I think I played as much as I wasn't a regular starter that year. You know, I more than played my part. I think I scored 20 goals. I think I scored in 2 finals, the Worthington Cup final and the UEFA Cup final, and I came on at 1-0 down in the FA Cup final. So for anyone thinking it's the Michael Owen Cup final, go fuck yourselves, because it was mine. I changed the game.
That seems a good place to finish, doesn't it? Humble Robbie Fowler, ladies and gents. We'll be back in the second part. Let me fly that one up again as well. And that's the address to get your questions in for Robbie Fowler. Nothing's off limits, Rob, is that right?
No.
Nothing's off limits at all. So anything you want to ask, we're back in about 20 minutes. We'll see you later. Robbie Fowler, ladies and gents. Been working hard on his Liverpool dream team. He's going to pick his all-time Liverpool best 11, not necessarily players you played with, which should make it quite interesting.
Well, I don't know if anyone's ever tried this, but trying to pick an 11 who's played in the Premier League, I think it's really hard actually. I've gone for a mixture of some older players, and there's a few modern players in there as well.
A few surprises. I thought it'd be quite good because lots of the stories that we told in the first half, people will know about you already because they're Liverpool fanatics. Is there something that we don't know about you? Perhaps a hidden talent or a hobby that perhaps we're not aware of?
I don't know. I don't know where this is going actually. I'm a shit skier. Anyone see the jump?
You're well into that though, aren't you? The skiing.
Oh yeah, I quite like that. Yeah, it's good.
Virgil van Dijk gave an interview with 5 Live when he was in Marbella last week, and he admitted to the fact that he loves Disneyland in Paris. It's his favourite place in the world. Went there as a 9-year-old, slept in bunk beds, watches all the Disney films in his spare time.
Now?
Yes. Is that unusual?
Yeah, it's fucking wrong.
What does something like this mean to you? Come on, tell everybody. We're all friends, aren't we? You love The Greatest Showman and you love musicals.
Yeah, but it's not Disney though, is it?
Are you trying to have a trade-off here, trying to claim this is cooler than Disney films?
Well, it is, and I mean, I do, in all fairness, I do like musicals. Anyone else know? Yeah, I don't think there's fucking loads of them. There's a few modern fellas in here like it. Yeah. I mean, it is better than Disney, isn't it, really? I'm shit singing, but you know, I don't think I'm going to be any singing any songs anymore.
We went to Blackpool about 3 weeks after The Greatest Showman was out. You already had the soundtrack on in the car and you knew all the words.
I mean, obviously I like watching. One of my favourite films is The Graduate. Has anyone seen The Graduate? Yeah. Great film. But I reckon I've seen that maybe about 5 times. It's sad, isn't it?
Have you ever imagined yourself as Hugh Jackman? You look well there.
It's not really me, is it?
It could be. Tonight, Matthew. I wonder whether Hugh Jackman's ever imagined himself as you. That's a real picture of you.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone knows the story behind that picture. It's obviously not Hugh Jackman, that is me. And during the year, Liverpool had a kit launch, you know, like an official launch in Anfield. But I was over in Australia at the time on the pre-season tour, and I actually jumped out of a plane to promote the kit. I'd always wanted. I'm quite a bit of an adrenaline junkie anyway, but like things like that, I always wanted to jump out of a plane. Has anyone done that? Yeah. A few brave ones in the front there.
You can jump.
Give you a little tip. There's you can actually jump out of a plane once without a parachute.
They got that quite quick, actually. Quick winter in Aberdeen. You also sang with the Beatles in just short of Hollywood a couple of years ago. What's going on here?
Don't know. I was a pre-season tour with Liverpool. I think it was an event one night, and they had obviously like a bootleg Beatles type. And I just stuck one of the wigs on and ran on. And to be fair, I don't think the fellas had a fucking clue who it was.
They were saying beforehand, because they perfected these really bad Scouse accents, how they were massive Liverpool fans.
Oh.
And Robbie comes on with his wig on, and we say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Robbie Fowler," and they didn't have a fucking clue who you were, did they? So I'm not sure they were such big Liverpool fans after all. We talked musicals before. What does Les Mis and Rob Jones have in association together?
Well, I mean, for those who know who Rob Jones is, I mean, he's up there with. He's probably not as thick as Jason McAteer. He is thick, and a few years ago, obviously when Les Mis came out, we actually wound him up. Myself and Steve McManaman, we told him. So you know the "Can You Hear the People Sing"? You know that song? We actually told Rob Jones it was "Can You Hear the Scousers Sing?" And I just forgot all about it. And about 2 weeks ago, he phoned me up and he went, "I'm just in the house with the missus and the kids, and I'm arguing with them, saying that there's a song in Les Mis about Scousers." And I never had the heart to tell him. I went, "Yeah, no, there is Trig, yeah, there is." But honestly, like,
what did you tell him the song went like then? What was the rendition?
I'm not saying.
Go on, just give us a little blast.
No. I've got all red now.
Go on.
No, it was.
We won't look, will we?
Can you hear the people singing a song? So, but it was "Can you hear the Scousers sing?" And Rob Jones thought that was really in the song.
You couldn't write it, could you?
Well, you could, but
no one would buy it. I like that picture though. There's nobody you haven't met or made a sandwich for. Pele in the middle there. What's going on here?
We're making a sandwich for people. So that, I mean, obviously the club was sponsored by Pele, by Subway, and obviously myself and Micah went down just to do this promotional video, and we actually had to make him a sandwich, you know, like some Brazilian type of sandwich that he wanted, and he knew me, so I was delighted with that. And obviously the next day, you know, obviously after this we played Man United, and obviously we walked into the the boardroom at Anfield, and I just turned around to Pat. I went, "Pele, what sandwich do you want?" But he was, to be fair, he was a nice fella actually.
I've got to ask you, because everyone's wondering, what did he go for? Was it meatball or?
I can't even remember. I don't even know.
Didn't eat it?
No, I didn't eat bollocks. No.
And it just rolls on, doesn't it? Maradona and Robbie Fowler. Who went over to who first here?
I met Diego, not unlike what you think, by the way. But I met Diego. Don't fuck it.
Like he's your mate.
Me and Diego. Yeah, I met him. God, about a year after I retired, actually, and we played in a charity game. And for me, he was. I mean, he's probably the best player that I've ever seen. For me, he was better than Pele. You know, certain people will say Pele's the best player, but for me, growing up in the 80s, watching him was incredible. And again, I played in this charity game just because I knew he was there, and just to get on a pitch with Diego was with Maradona was brilliant.
Be a good night out, that, wouldn't it? Night out with Robbie. Might never come back. You've got a clue here as to what I'm going to ask you about. This is the famous moment. I do wonder, when we talk about some of your great bits as a Liverpool player, how did it compare, say for example, scoring 5 goals in your first full Liverpool appearance at Anfield compared to coming back as a player?
Well, I mean, when I'm looking at a picture, I think Rafa's actually put more weight on than me, so I'm quite happy with that, to be fair. I think, to tongue in cheek. So whenever, I mean, I've had an unbelievable career, and you know, playing for Liverpool was perfect for me. I never really wanted to leave, but I'm sure there'll probably be a question about that in a minute, so I won't go there. But getting a chance to re-sign for Liverpool was certainly by far the best thing that ever happened to me. It was, for me, it was better than scoring goals. It was better than winning trophies. Re-signing for Liverpool, I mean, nothing will ever come close to that.
How did it come about then? How was it first presented to you? And did you think it was a wind-up?
I did. I fell out with Stuart Pearce, who was the manager of Man City, and I was actually playing golf, and you know, I get a phone call, and it was Robbie, would you like to play for Liverpool? That was meant to be Spanish, and it was Rafa, and he goes, would you like to play for Liverpool? And I went, well, yeah. And I didn't really click on at the time. Thinking, well, you know, Rafa phones you, you've got it. He went, well, come and see me at Anfield, and we'll sign the contract. So I get to my car, left the clubs with my mate, gets in the car, drives to Anfield. And when I was playing for Liverpool the first time, all the officers were on the main stand side. So I parks my car, goes into, or tries to get into the building, and it was locked. Fuck, it's wind up. So I thought someone then had obviously done me, but obviously me being a little bit cleverer than McAteer, I've worked out that the officers have moved. So it goes round the cop side, and Rafa was in Rick Parry's office, put this contract in front of me, and I just signed it. Wasn't interested in what wages I was getting. I just signed the contract because I went home, and that was honestly the best thing ever.
I can still remember hearing it on the radio at the time. I think as Liverpool fans who can remember the moments, it was just brilliant, wasn't it? It was almost like getting a little bit of those great moments back. What was it like for a player that when you get back in the car and shut the world out?
I mean, it was, I've said this a few times now, but incredible. I think when you're a kid and you wake up on Christmas morning and you see this best present that you wanted, that for me was what it was like. Me going to Liverpool made sense. A Liverpool fan. Had a great career there. Never really wanted to leave, but I did. But going home was, honestly, I mean, I'm made up now talking about it. When I came back and made my second debut, I came on at Birmingham. I'm quite a lively lad anyway, but if ever I'm down for any reason, I'll watch a little clip on YouTube of me coming on against Birmingham, and it just lifts me up straight away. It was brilliant. I was playing for Liverpool again, and it meant everything. It really did.
Anyone at that game when he scored that overhead kick that was disallowed? Remember it? Check it out on YouTube. One of those moments where you thought he's back, but referee intervened.
When I went back to Liverpool, people think I was not a failure, but people think I wasn't as good. But I think the goals per games was actually a little bit better. I didn't play, obviously, start as many games, but I think I scored 12 goals in 18 games. I think so. Yeah, my record was very good, and I'd scored 3 goals that got disallowed before my actual first goal counted. And ironically, my first goal back was against Fulham, which was the game that I scored in my debut.
Great moments for all Liverpool fans. There he is as a young man sitting in his press conference there in that moment too. Should we get on to your dream team?
Yeah, come on.
It's been quite a difficult process this, but he has gone for this fella in goal. Was that a straightforward decision? You played with Bruce Grobbelaar. Alisson's doing well now as well.
I obviously wouldn't pick Alisson because obviously he's new to the team anyway. But I think Pepe's consistency was probably better. And I think when you sort of analyse goalkeepers of the past for Liverpool, David James, as much as he's a nutcase, he was a very good keeper. All right, he was prone to a few mistakes, but he was probably a good keeper. Jerzy Dudek probably gets a good mention. But I think we probably missed having a player like Pepe for Liverpool, and until we've got Alisson now, I think that is probably the area where we've maybe struggled. I think Pepe I thought he was brilliant and probably more consistent than any keeper.
Love the night out as well. Does that play a part?
He did actually, yeah. He was good in the dressing room. I think whenever you're sort of building a team anyway, I think it's important that you get the right characters. And Pepe was a real good character.
Yeah. Most of you go with that, Pepe Reina, in your lifetime. You've gone for this fella at right back. The aforementioned Rob Jones.
Rob Jones. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Trigger is obviously a nickname because he's a fucking idiot. He's, I think he epitomises everything that, I mean, not too many young people would know him, to be fair. I know I'm looking around the crowd here and I know there's lots of young people. Compliment there, and I mean, the biggest compliment I could pay him is, I mean, Gary Neville had, you know, I know 80, 90 England caps, but if he was fit and played, you know, a lot more games, then Gary Neville would have had 10 caps because he'd have had all Gary Neville's caps. He was superb.
You think about his debut as well. Signs from Crewe, makes his debut against Ryan Giggs.
A couple of days later, got man of the match, didn't he?
Left back, this fella, Scotland captain, and this is against the grain a little bit as well because he's not been there long, which shows how much you think of him.
I think that's a testament to him. I think if any team, you know, i.e. Barcelona or Real Madrid, if they are looking for a left back to replace what they've got, he wouldn't look out of place in any of them teams. I think he really is that good. And for us to get him for, what was it, 8 million? I mean, it's an absolute steal, you know, talking about scouts and steal and stuff. I think we stole him, didn't we? And obviously now he's obviously the Scotland captain. I think he deserves it. I think he's going to get bigger and better as well. He really is, and thankfully he's playing for the Reds.
I've got half a sneaking suspicion he might captain Liverpool at some stage as well. He's only young, isn't he? And seems to be that kind of player.
He's got, I mean, I'm probably similar as well, but he's got that complexion as well where he just melts in the sun as well, and he gets a suntan opening the fridge door, doesn't he?
Well, we were in Marbella last week. It rained every day and he got sunburned in the clouds. What a great lad, though. Centre backs, Big Sammy, first on the list there. Reasons why?
I think Sammy, you know, epitomises, you know, what a defender needs to be. You know, he was big, he was strong, he was, you know, cool, calm, collected, and I mean, there's a few players you probably could have had as well. I mean, Stefan Onshow probably is probably one of the most underrated players, you know, I've ever played with, and I think maybe playing with Sammy sort of went against Stefan because everyone was, you know, wanting the big dominant Finn. You know, he's, you know, 6'4". Stefan was, you know, 6'1", so he sort of hid under him a little bit. But I think, I mean, it was hard between them two, but obviously just obviously opted for Sammy because of his longevity and, you know, what he meant for Liverpool fans as well.
Some brilliant centre halves, if you consider it, who might have got a mention. So Sammy Hoopier alongside Big Virgil.
I think any Liverpool team, I look at, and this is what I was saying before about like the modern trait with, you know, whenever you're trying to pick a team, you don't think of many players who, like modern players who you think would get in. But when you look at him, I mean, I said before about with Sammy Hoopier, you know, the modern player who had everything. I mean, he's just an incredible player. I think if we had him in my team when I was playing, I think we'd have won the league because we probably lacked a defender like him. Another reason that I picked him and Sammy is because I know this might seem a little bit of a thing, but Cara's not in there. And one of the reasons that is, I think Cara will tell you that, you know, Big Verge is probably a better player than him. And also during the week, Cara was asked for his best 11 and I wasn't in the fucking team, so we can go and get the
It goes on, that kind of stuff, isn't it? Carrigan left out sensationally by Robbie Fowler. Midfield, and it's a 4-3-3 you've gone with formation-wise. First midfielder is Xabi Alonso. Not too many arguments for that from the sounds of it.
No, I don't think so. I think he was a brilliant player. You know, you think of the teams that he's played for as well, the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern, that tells you the class of the man. So yeah, I think he was. He's probably a version of Jan Molby. You know, I spoke before about legends in the game, and obviously Jan played for Liverpool and he was a proper legend, and he was probably a similar passer to Jan, so I think he had maybe lots of traits to be an excellent midfielder.
What was he like? Good lad?
Yeah, he was a really good lad. He, again, you know, Spanish, he enjoyed the night out as well. So.
Yeah, we're all in favour of that. So Xabi Alonso, next midfielder in Liverpool's all-time greatest 11, as voted for by Robbie Fowler, is Florence Cinema Pongol. He jest, he doesn't really. Steven Gerrard.
I mean, what can you say? I think he's we could sit down with, you know, 1 million Liverpool fans and he'd be in every Liverpool fan's Premier League team. I think what he did for Liverpool.
Maybe a few Aberdeen fans have gone off him.
You don't like him now? No! He's getting him off. He's actually turning me on looking at him, to be fair. I mean, he saw Liverpool over, you know, a few dark years, didn't he? You know, carried us for, you know, for many a time. I know obviously he'll have his problems up here now with certain clubs, but I don't think you could ever leave him out of any Liverpool team, because if any player was to run King Kenny close as the greatest ever Liverpool player, I think you've got to put Stephen up there.
You know, I've said football fans are fickle, they soon forget, don't they, when it comes into it in Scotland, but I think from a neutral point of view he's doing a good job so far.
The Aberdeen fans, who do you rate worse, by the way? Do you rate Steven Gerrard or Morelos?
Start murdering here. Steve McManaman's the final midfield player in the 11.
Yeah, I mean, I love Macca. I think Macca was again, you know, a great understanding, a great relationship, with good mates on and off the pitch, and he was probably my favourite player to play with. I thought he was terrible. Probably doesn't get the adulation he deserves, actually. I know he's gone on to be, I mean, after Gareth Bale. Sorry mate, it would interrupt anything there. I mean, after Gareth Bale, he's probably been you know, the most successful British player that's played abroad, so I think he's a phenomenal player.
Such good friends that he took you on the open top bus ride when Real Madrid won the Champions League as well.
Yeah, so when Macca was over there, he'd won the Spanish La Liga, and obviously me never winning the league. He comes in to see me after the game and he said, you know, give us two, I was with obviously another mate, and he gave us 2 Real Madrid tops. He went, come on, we'll get on the bus. After he won the game, he done a tour of Madrid, and there's me and my mate on the tour bus with Real Madrid. I've won the league, you know what I mean? So anyone who says I haven't, lying.
Were you tempted to clap the fans? Did you do a bit of that, or?
It was actually embarrassing, to be fair. So I don't know if you know the story with Real Madrid. So whenever they do win the league, I mean, regardless of whatever time, you do this tour, and you can see as far as the eye can see, there's people. So I mean, the streets of Madrid, it must have been midnight, and there was millions of people there. And they stop off in a fountain in the middle of Madrid, and they all get off and do a dance. And I obviously didn't want to do that. I was tempted, but I didn't want to go dance on the fountain. But I'm like hiding on the bus, and next minute there's like a load of, you know, British people who spot me, and they all start singing my name. So Madrid have just won the fucking league, and like all English fans are fucking singing my name. But that was a surreal night, that one.
Load more Scousers on the run in Madrid. Spot Robbie on the bus. Are you ready for the 3 strikers? First position goes to Luis Suarez.
You know, in all fairness, I actually struggled putting him in, to be honest, because as much as he was brilliant for Liverpool, I actually don't like the way he left. You know, he sort of it killed me to sort of leave Liverpool. It was my decision, but I felt forced, whereas he sort of engineered a move away, and I saw that didn't really ring true with me. But I think the years he was at Liverpool, I think he certainly made us a better team, and I think we as a team made him a better player. Obviously what he's gone on to achieve, but I don't think you could argue with his record, and he probably does deserve to be there just because of his performances.
Next striking position goes to Mo Salah.
Not a difficult choice. I think when you think of a Liverpool team and the strikers that we've had over the years, I mean, Rushy played in the Premier League, so you know, the greatest ever Liverpool player, Liverpool striker, I think. But I think you look at Modern and what Mo's done certainly in the last couple of years. I mean, it really is incredible. You know, the fastest player to score 50 goals. You know, he's broke all sorts of records, and I think he's going to score a lot more goals. And if he stays, you know, at Liverpool and continues the way he's doing, continues the way he's going, then I mean, we can be talking about him for years and years to come.
Ahead of you in the fastest,
not that much,
50.
No, yeah, he's ahead of me, but I mean, he's an established player. I was 19, wasn't I?
Right, so there's one place left in Robbie Fowler's dream team, and it goes to. Should we have a drum roll?
Yeah, does anyone know who's going to be? Premier League. It's got a Premier
League era. The position goes to Robbie Fowler. Never ever seen this, by the way, in a dream team that somebody has selected themselves.
Listen, it's my fucking team and I'll pick whoever I want. So, the reason I want to get in this team, I'm obviously not an egotistical person by any means. In fact, I'm quite humble. I mean, when I die, I want humble to be written on my statue. I wanted to play this team. When I picked the team and I seen all the players and I'd love to play with all them players. So that was really the only reason. It is maybe a little bit egotistical to put me in, but I wanted to play with them. That was all. Maybe I don't deserve to be in it, but I'm putting myself in it.
I think he does deserve to be in it, even though he sat next to him. Who's captain? Who's on penalties?
Seriously, I'm taking penalties. I'm taking throw-ins. I'm taking corners.
You also stipulated that you wanted 5 substitutes in this dream team as well.
Only because I felt sorry for people.
Okay.
That's right, yeah.
First on the bench, and because he looks so good sat on a bench, is John Barnes. What a specimen.
I mean, Barnes, he was brilliant, he really was. And I mean, you think of the great Liverpool forwards. I mean, I never even mentioned John Aldridge, in terms of goal scorers Liverpool had. But when he played sort of left midfield, I mean, me as a striker, I would have given anything to play up front with him because of the type of player he was. I played up front when he was centre midfield, and he was still class then. So, that was him coming towards the end of his career with bad injuries. And he was still brilliant. I'd have loved to have played with him in his pomp. Really would have done.
Times were hard then. Eagle eyes, if you will, spot on his left leg, the big rip in his sock near the top. Jamie Carragher, second on the bench.
Yeah, I think I've best put him in, hadn't I? I do feel sorry for him, but he never put me in his team, so I just thought. In fact, I'm getting him off the subs bench now.
I don't envy you as a manager leaving him out. Maybe
in all family, Carragher he was class for Liverpool. He really was. Great. When you mention the likes of Sammy and obviously Big Virgil, who were leaders, Carragher was a real leader on the pitch and a real focal player. And I mean, it was in all fairness difficult leaving him out, but I just think they might have had a little bit something more. But Carragher he was brilliant.
Sub number 3, Ian Rush.
Probably, I mean, we talk about obviously Mo and Suarez and the great Liverpool strikers, but this fella for me was the best in terms of goal scoring. I mean, I learned so much of him. You look at him as well, and I mean, he's got the fucking biggest nose ever. I mean, if you had a nose that big, you wouldn't underline it, would you?
That's brilliant, that. I've never heard that before. Poor Rushy. Ronnie Whelan gets the penultimate place on the bench, coming in captain 1989.
Yeah, again, real underrated player. Had everything you need to be a top class midfielder. He was good in a tackle. Really tough player. Scored goals. Yeah, I think he was maybe unlucky not to get in the team as well.
Great player. And the final place on the substitute bench goes to Jason McAteer. That's a surprise, actually.
Yeah, it's a fucking surprise to me as well, to be fair. I mean, he's a good lad, Jason. I mean, I put him in just because he's my mate, and if I put him in as my mate, that means I can talk to you about him for a little bit. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a fucking conversation. I mentioned before about Rob Jones being thick. He is by far the thickest player I've ever seen. And just to give you a few stories, so when Jason played for Ireland, I mean, I'm not sure how he played for Ireland because he's from fucking Liverpool, but he was Ireland's trigger. So when he signed for Liverpool, we already had a trigger in Rob Jones, and we played with Wimbledon, and Wimbledon won a corner, and Neil Ruddock goes to, he says, Trigger, go and pick him up. And Rob Jones and Jason ran to the same player. So it became evident that, you know, we needed to change the name. So it goes at half time. Neil Ruddock turns around to Rob Jones and says, Trigger. He said, you've been here the longest, you can say Trigger. Jason, you only could just come. So from now on, you are known as Dave. so Jason's name, those who don't realise or know the significance, is because only through the nose was Trigger called Rodney Dave. So he's starting. And the two of them are fucking brilliant, honestly God. And a few years ago, a lot of the lads had, you know, the 40th birthdays in the same year. So instead of having parties throughout the year, we decided to have a big long weekend in Ireland. And obviously Jason's a self-proclaimed David Beckham of Ireland. He says, well, I'll sort it. So there's 10 of us, and we get to the airport, and 9 of us are on the one flight, and Jason's on the fucking wrong one. So we get over to Ireland, and, you know, we're in a pub, and, you know, we're drinking pretty quick. Jason gets over a few hours later, and he starts drinking pretty quick to try and catch up. And him and Rob Jones are talking, and I shit you not, the conversation went a little bit like this.
Building the tension now.
Sorry. So the conversation went a little bit like this. Rob Jones had turned around to me and he went, he says, I'm doing a book. And Jason went, well, what's it about? He went, it's an autobiography. He went, what's it about? So Rob Jones is going, well, it's about me, my life in football, what I've done before, you know, what I've done during, what I've done after football. He went, oh, brilliant. He said, what's it like? And Rob Jones went, I don't know, I haven't read it yet. And look, one of the other ones is, I mean, Jason, he's a good golfer actually, and one of the events he did was, he was over in Qatar, he was playing golf for Liverpool. So after the game of golf, there's a big sit-down meal, a big, you know, big suited and booted, you know, venue it was. So after that, he's sat with, you know, 10 other fellas who's played golf. So he's sitting talking to the fella. He said, what's your name? So obviously I'm Jason, you know, I used to play for Liverpool. And the fella says, oh, he said, I know. He said, but, so Jason, well, where are you from then? And the fella's going, I am from the land of the All Blacks. And Jason went, what part of Africa is that then? You know, I'm not even making that up, honestly. And the other one was, I was going to get into trouble then. So the other one was, so Jason, I play a lot of golf with Jason, so, I mean, this wasn't that long ago, and he picked me up, and obviously the clubs, we're going to play golf, and the clubs go in the back of the car, on the way to the golf course, and the phone goes, and Jason answers it, and it's his missus. So she says, Jason, there's 2 parcels have arrived. So Jason goes, well, open them. So you hear a bit of rustling, and the parcels are getting opened, and Jason goes, well, what's in them? She said, well, I don't really think I should say. He went, don't worry about it, just fucking tell us. So she went, it's alright, well, it's the Xbox 360 you've ordered, and it's FIFA 2018. He went, oh, brilliant. He said, what's in the other box? She went, well, I really shouldn't say. He went, don't worry. He said, I'm with Robbie, I'll fucking tell him anyway. She went, alright then, it's the rampant rabbit you've ordered. My ears pricked up then. He went, oh, brilliant. So anyway, she started getting all amorous then. She says, you know what, Jason? I can't wait for you to come home tonight because we're going to have hours and hours of fun. He goes, alright love, see you later. Puts the phone down. He turns around to me and went, she's a soft bastard there. I went, why? He went, I've only ordered 1 controller for the 360.
The 2 phrases you never thought you were going to hear tonight at this night was amorous and rampant rabbit. 2 of them squeezed into 1. Loads of great questions in here. We'll try and get through as many as we can. Do you regret the blonde bouffant? Bouffant is one of the questions. Do you regret that haircut?
Give a bollocks, that was the style, that. In fact, I was pissed in Fallaraki, to be totally honest. I was on holiday and just decided to get it done. Yeah, there was beer involved.
Good one. Cameron Ross, best manager you worked with and why?
Best manager for me was Roy Evans. I think tactically probably wasn't as good as a Rafa or a Gerrard, who were very, very good. Technically, tactically, they were good. But I think Roy Evans' man management style was far better. And I love managers like that. I think they get a little bit more out of the players, which leads me on to obviously Jurgen Klopp. I think he ticks every box. I think his technical and his tactical side of being a manager is brilliant, and his man management is brilliant. So, I mean, he's one of their managers I would love to play for. But certainly the manager I enjoyed playing under most was Roy Evans.
Mark Thompson, how did you feel when you were told Liverpool had accepted a bid from Leeds for you? He puts in brackets, I was heartbroken. I imagine you were as well.
Yeah, I was, but I knew what was happening. So, I mean, there's not really many people know really the full story. So, I mean, I went, and I said before, it was my decision to leave, but I felt forced. Liverpool as a club, or Gerard Houllier tried to sell me a few times. You know, he tried to sell me to Aston Villa when they were good. Newcastle obviously tried to buy me, and you know, Chelsea tried to buy me. And I was in my mate's house one night, and the phone goes, and it's from my phone goes. It's Gianluca Vialli. He said, "Well, obviously the club have accepted our bid, and obviously you can come down and talk to us." And I went, "Well, I don't want to go anywhere." I said, "As far as I'm concerned, I'm not for sale." He went, "Well, we have an affidavit from the club. We want to sell you." So not too many people know the full story of that. You know, all the clubs that come in for me. I went back and, you know, I told Gerard, you know, obviously I had the phone call, and he denied that he tried to sell me. But I knew deep down that he was desperate to try and get me away from the club, and I wasn't playing many games. Leeds came in, and I knew, you know, for my own sanity, I had to go. I hated not playing. You know, as much as I loved Liverpool, you know, I'm not like one of these players who like sitting, you know, on the bench, you know, collecting wages. I wanted to go and earn my keep. I wanted to score goals, wanted to play. So, you know, I had to leave just for my own sanity.
Best strike partner at Liverpool, asks Ben Taylor. Was it Rush, Collymore or Owen? Who would you pick?
In the order would be, I mean, Rushy was probably the best striker I said before, but in terms of my partnership was Stan Collymore. Stan was, I mean, Rushy will tell you his best partner was Kenneth Dalglish because of the amount of goals he scored. My partner was Stan Collymore because of the amount of goals I scored with him. You know, we didn't socialise much. I wished when I found out what he was doing away from football, I wish I had fucking socialised with him.
That would have been some story, wouldn't it? The interior light on the car switched on in that abandoned car park. Do you know what there's loads of questions about tonight, which might surprise you, is the Jason McAteer and Michael Owen fight in Soccer Sixes the other week.
Fucking brilliant, wasn't it?
Did you like it?
I thought it was brilliant. I was winding him up. I'm obviously mates with Dave, and I wind him up all the time. I call him the git, because whenever he opens his mouth, he just gives me something to fucking buller him with, you know. And as soon as Michael Owen kicked him and he kicked him, I was straight on the phone to him, just winding him up, saying Michael Adam. And he proper wanted to fight him. I was egging him on to, bro. Brilliant.
He's still not over it though, is he?
No, he'll tell people he is.
Yeah.
But you can get him started on it easy.
This is an interesting one from Henry Lung. Hopefully I've pronounced your surname right, Henry. He asks quite simply, is it wrong to support more than one team in the same league? For example, he says, I support Liverpool and Spurs. Where's Henry?
I think Henry should stand up, by the way.
I hope Henry's a big fucker. Where is he? He's gone.
I think he's fucking gone literally, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That's not. You can't have two teams in the Premier League.
Or at least if you're going to have two, one needs to be shit, doesn't it?
No, you just can't have two. Yeah, I mean, you can maybe have, I know there's obviously a few Aberdeen, Rangers and Liverpool fans here, but you can't have two teams in the Premier League. Not a chance.
Henry's on a roll here. He also asks, which properties do you own that have the nicest hanging baskets? I think Henry's been taking drugs. My dad's favourite goal, says Sean, is the one you scored against Aston Villa when you beat Steve Staunton. What is your favourite goal that you've scored for Liverpool?
Oh God, I like tap-ins. I mean, it's not a funny answer by any, but tap-ins meant that I was in the right place and doing what I should be doing. Any goal is brilliant. Any tap-in was brilliant. Don't get me wrong, I think anyone can, you know, now and again score spectacular goals. So I was never really renowned for that. You know, I did enjoy tap-ins more than anything. I think any goal against sort of Man United or Everton was certainly the pick of the goals, though.
Yeah, so many to pick from, in fairness. John Bingham, did you ever get the chance to play in Scotland?
No, I never. I know, funny enough, when we were doing the signing earlier on, I think a lot of people do come up to me and think I'm a big Rangers fan. The reason I like Rangers is because what my favourite player growing up was Trevor Steven, and when he signed for Rangers, I just obviously wanted him to do well. So I mean, that was the only reason. I mean, it's certainly not anything to do with the Catholic, the Protestant, none of that. It was just because I liked Trevor Steven, and that was the only reason why. People do say to me, "Did you have a chance to sign for Rangers?" You know, I never had a chance. No one ever approached me. So
would you sign for them now? Stephen phoned you.
I probably wouldn't get a game, to be honest. So.
Steve McRae, did you enjoy your time with Leeds United?
I did actually. Yeah, I mean, in terms of older clubs, I mean, Liverpool's my number one, but probably Leeds was just my second favourite. It really was. I mean, I know I had only 1 year there. I had maybe 4 or 5 years at Man City. Obviously, it's not the Man City we see today, but Leeds was a great club. But I knew they was maybe struggling, so they needed to get players, you know, off the wage bill when I left, and you know, I was obviously one of the bigger earners at the time.
Richard Hay, when you were a kid, which player made you fall in love with football? Did you answer that with the Trevor Steven?
Trevor Steven and Graham Sharp. I mean, I can't believe. I mean, I don't know how many caps Graham Sharp got for Scotland, but for me, he was brilliant. Does anyone know? Does anyone know Graham Sharp? No.
No.
Not very much, then. No.
not enough, probably. Andrew Ross, any major regrets in your career that you would change if you had the chance?
Not really. No, I think. I mean, there's obviously a few results I would change, but I think everything you've done on a pitch. I mean, the celebration with the drugs one, and I'll be a little bit serious here now. I think all through my life I've always had obviously the rumours and there's this, you're doing this, you're doing that, and I always had to like defend myself and say I've never done nothing. And look, regardless, we'll have a laugh and a joke. And my dad came up to me once. My dad's obviously no longer here. He died a few years ago. But I remember him coming up to me, early on in my career. He went, "Listen, Matt," he said, "I'm hearing that many rumours that you're on drugs." He said, "Are you?" And I went, "Dad," I said, "I can't believe you asked me that." He went, "Sorry, son." He said, "I'll never ask you again." And I got to the point where I was having people writing smackhead on the wall outside the house. I would go through into Liverpool city centre. I was getting mullered all the time. And I think the rumours obviously started by the Everton fans. And I mean, I've just said my dad's obviously died now, and he obviously a couple of years ago. And I swear on his grave, I have never ever taken nothing in my life. But I have to defend myself all the time. And even now on Twitter, I don't think there's a day that goes by without me having to block someone or give someone stick, because everyone just assumes I did it. And it all maybe was because of the celebration. But the celebration was my way of getting the Everton fans back. They was all saying all this shit about me, so I knew what I was going to do when I scored against Everton. I was going to go on my hands and knees and mimic what you think I'm doing, and just to fucking wind them up, basically.
It was the way you did it, then went back to do it again in case they hadn't seen it, which was so good. Midfield 3 for Sunday, who do you pick? Asks Mike Houston. That's probably where the main area of debate happens now, isn't it? Which midfield 3 play?
You know what? I don't know. I really don't know. I think Wijnaldum's been brilliant this year. I really do. Milner. You know what? I don't know. Fabinho's been brilliant. I don't even know.
I pick them all.
That's probably why I'm not a fucking manager, isn't it?
This is real talk now from Graham Smith, who says, "Where was the best place for a night out after the match if you got out after games?" Of course you got out after games.
When we went out after games.
What would be the tale of pubs? Where would you go? In what order?
I mean, games finish late in midweek games. So I mean, I don't know if anyone knows. Anyone remember the Conti in Liverpool? I do.
That's where you met each other, wasn't it?
I reckon you're going to get your fucking head kicked into that when you get a new. So it was, the Conti, and I mean, Liverpool's famous for the grafting, but I can honestly say I never went there.
Liar.
Much.
Has anyone ever been to Grafton? Yeah. God rest his soul. What a place. What a place. No man was safe in there. Best and worst Liverpool player you played with?
God. No cameras on. Definitely, please, no cameras. The best one, I mentioned before, obviously you put Steve and Steve McManaman, I think for me were the best in terms of players I played with. The worst ones, I mean, I find this hard to answer, I really do, because of they're playing for Liverpool, so they must have had something about them. Torben Pickney.
You shit money.
It wasn't the best.
Torben. Is scoring in front of the cop better than sex? Asks George Robertson.
It depends who you're having sex with, to be honest, isn't it?
Is there someone you had in mind, George? Is that it, yeah? Depends.
Yeah, no, it depends who you're with, doesn't it?
Who could you drink under the table from your playing days at Liverpool, asked Mike.
Who could I drink under the table?
Neil Ruddock, he puts in brackets. Could anybody drink Neil Ruddock under the table?
We had a good drinking school, actually. I mean, Razor was certainly probably the biggest drinker, actually. Probably the biggest one again was Steve Nicol. I think he was legendary, by the way, in terms of drinking. He probably him and again Ronnie Whelan. Ronnie Whelan was brilliant. It's wrong that I didn't say he was brilliant. but Razor would certainly be up there.
Yeah. We knew what you meant about Ronnie Whelan, who found out he had a yeast allergy, so he couldn't drink lager anymore about 5 years ago, so started drinking pints of gin and tonic instead. That was where it all started to go wrong.
That's normal up here, isn't it?
Yeah. This is a good one from Stuart, Rob. Who did it feel better scoring against, Everton or Manchester United?
For me, look, I love scoring against both, but for me it was probably Everton, because of the stick I took. So yeah, I mean, in fact, one of my favourite goals was scoring a tap in at Goodison in the last minute to equalise. That was brilliant, and just because I knew what it meant for the Liverpool fans, and against the rival was huge. It really was. So yeah, I'd probably say Everton. Just
Steve Mitchell, what is your favourite thing you ask Alexa to do?
I actually don't know how to answer that. You know what? I have got it, but I fucking never turn it on. No. So maybe Alexa, please turn on. Would I say that?
Yeah, please don't. Fuck off, Dave. Yeah. You probably have quizzes with it, because that's your favourite thing now. When we were getting the flight over, he comes up with a thing of name as many teams as you can with a different ending, and you had 21 in the end.
21 we have, yeah.
So you're like, Manchester United is one ending, Manchester City is that. You got 21. Play that between yourselves tomorrow. Yeah. But you are a mind of useless trivia information.
Yeah, I just talk shite, don't I?
What's your golf handicap? Asks Simon Robertson.
I'm officially 10, but I play to maybe 7. I'm alright.
How many times a week do you play then?
I know I'm a fair weather golfer. I've not picked up a club for 2 months, but I think when it gets cold, I'm fucking staying in the house, mate.
With Alexa, trying to switch it on.
Sorting my quizzes out. or watching The Greatest Showman.
Again. Sam Walker, is some horse still going?
No, I think he's glue now, if I'm being honest. Any pet fans in here, no? So, I mean, for those, myself and Stevie Mack, we've had 9 racehorses, and we had some horse which was named by me, and we sat round, a table with a few other lads, and we came up with this name, and we actually bought another horse, and we called that one Another Horse. They're all gone now, actually.
Danielle Thompson says, can you come back to Aberdeen to sign our Liverpool tops we wore on the day of our wedding when we find out which box we put them in? Where's Danielle? You didn't get married in Liverpool shirts, did you? Oh, the morning off. It's a bit kinky, isn't it?
I know. Why haven't we brought them then?
Can't find them.
Obviously that morning of the wedding means a lot to you then,
I'm sure we can sort that out. There's at least 10 questions here about toughest opponent. I knew this one was going to come up, and we found this picture. I wonder whether he might feature in there, but is there an opponent that you particularly dreaded coming up against or feared?
Well, no, not really. I mean, when you think of tough opponents and really good players, I think you put Roy Keane up there. I mean, I was never fazed or worried about playing against any player, because I think if you sort of go out there with that attitude, then I think you've lost straight away. So I was always quietly confident of doing well, and in fact you relished coming up against good players. I mentioned before about Van Dijk, about the type of player he was. If we'd have had him, we'd have won the league. I think if we'd have had a player like Roy Keane, I think we may have won the league as well, because I think he probably epitomised everything that is brilliant in a midfield player. And just to give you a quick story on Roy, I think 1996 it was. I think you all remember the Eric Cantona game when he came back and we drew 2-2. So that game, or that season, I felt as though I went into every game, and I could score in any game. So I was scoring goals. And the first half, I remember Roy Keane snapping me. He really hurt me. But I've always been told, I'm not an art case or I'm not an unbelievably good tackler, but if anyone hurts me or if anyone has a go, I'm not scared to sort of have a go back. So when he tackled me hard and he hurt me, I thought, I'll have to fucking get him back. But I tried to get him all game and I couldn't get near him because obviously he's a good player. And second half, whenever I got near him, he'd play a little 1-2 round me, or he'd just pass somewhere else. But second half, we got heading towards the Stretford end, and Jason McAteer played a 10-yard, pass to me, 5 yards too fucking short, like he normally did. And it became a 60-40 with myself and Roy, so I knew I was going to get him back, so I had a chance to. So when you're a football player, if you want to hurt someone or you want to try and get them back, you come over the top of the ball. So the ball's there, and you come over the top of it, your foot will roll over it, and you'll catch them on the shin. So I knew I was going to do this to Roy. So I did it, and I knew I hurt him because he let out a little bit of a whimper. I mean, he never fucking cried like Nanny, he just whimpered. So as all the players did at Man United, so whenever there was a nasty tackle on one of their own, they all surrounded the referee, they surrounded me as a player. It was near the Stretford end, all the Man U fans were going to call me everything under the sun. And the referee at the time was a man called Jeff Winter. And he calls me over, he said, "Oh, wasn't a good tackle, Robbie." He said, "I'm going to have to put you in the book." He went, "What's your name?" I went, "You know my name?" He went, "What's your fucking name?" So I had Robbie Fowler, so he's right. He said, "What's your address?" And I went, "Well, what do you want that for?" He went, "I want to send you a bottle of wine, I hate that prick."
Right, before we go, if you did buy a raffle ticket, get your tickets ready, because we've got some bits and bobs to give away here. And Robbie is going to draw the winning tickets out. Signed picture of Robbie, first of all, which he'll personalise for you up here. Have you got a Sharpie, Franny or Jockey or JC, so they can sign it for whoever comes up? And this is for the picture personalised of Robbie Fowler.
And it's a white ticket. And it's 316 to 320.
316 to 320. The young man there on the end of the road. Do you want to come up and Robbie will sign it for you? Well done, sir. The next one is for 2 meet and greet tickets. We're bringing John Barnes to Aberdeen soon. End of May, I'm told. John Barnes coming to Aberdeen to sing Rappers Delight, World in Motion, Anfield Rap. It's like a whole album that he'll sing, as well as telling some fantastic football stories as well. This is for 2 meet and greet tickets for John Barnes in Aberdeen at the end of May.
It's a blue ticket.
What's it be?
266 to 270.
Young lady there, 266 to 270, white ticket with a...
You go see Jockey.
Yeah, go see Jockey at the back. He looks like Hannibal out of the A-Team. George Peppard looking like in the back. Handsome brute. You having that, John?
No, he said handsome, Jock. He said handsome.
Hannibal. It's going to be a good night, that end of May, John Barnes. This is for 2 tickets to a game at Anfield.
I'm not sure whether that is orange or apricot.
Yeah, I think it's probably apricot, isn't it? Peach.
Peach.
Auburn.
It's a peach ticket and it's 41 to 45.
41 to 45 for the Liverpool tickets. Fella there is one of those. You can see Jockey at the back.
I hope you like
we'll sort them out for you. Well, listen, we've had a great time whilst we've been in Aberdeen. We hope to see you again in May. In the meantime, for the very entertaining and all-time Liverpool legend, the one and only Robbie Fowler, ladies and gents.
Ladies and gentlemen, also give a huge round of applause for our fantastic host, Peter McDowell. For those of you guys who were successful with the auction,